Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I am your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. Uh, Raj, the Lakers are on a 5-game win streak. They have continued to stack up wins against teams that they need to be stacking up wins against. It hasn't been pretty, which we're going to discuss in today's pod. But a win's a win. And the Lakers still are in a part of their schedule where they could stack up a few more not a few, a lot of wins, and really build some more momentum for themselves going into Thanksgiving and the following month.
Yeah.
Before we get into Lakers basketball, my friend, you have been covering the South Bay Lakers beat. What is the beat life like for the South Bay Lakers for you?
Yeah,
How
I
are you
mean,
doing?
I'm good. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited. My first road game going on Wednesday out to the beautiful Oceanside, San Diego area. So they'll play the Clippers there in a brand new arena, Arena, which should be fun. But it's cool, man. They're 1-2 now. The games have been pretty fun. The building is jam packed. Yeah, and Quincy to me is an absolute star, and Laker fans should get to know him before he gets out of the G League and gets minutes in the real arena. But yeah, it's cool to talk to the coach after the game and kind of got his comments. But yeah, G League's fun, man. Armel Traore played really well. He got minutes on the big squad and played last night, had a really good game. Mentioned Quincy. Bronny obviously still struggling. LeBron has been in the building every single Bronny game so far. Yeah, it's been cool, and excited to keep that going. I'll have pieces up pretty much after every game for that. And yeah, I'm excited. And again, people should tune in. A lot of young players on that team. JHS was on the bench in street clothes, but he'll eventually start playing. Maxwell Lewis had another really good game last night. He had like 4 threes. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, you are my source of truth for South Bay Lakers. I always tell everybody that if you don't know whether the guy is actually good or not, you got to ask Raj, because when you're actually in the gym and you're watching them play, it's very, very different compared to, I think a lot of people do their analysis based on like the end game box scores and stuff like that. The
Yeah.
real sickos don't really watch the games. They just kind of do what Twitter tells them. And so I always rely on you to give me that information, because I can't watch all of the top big games.
Yeah, it's cool because I get there like an hour and a half early, and you get to like see the shooting and stuff like that, and then just see the shots that they do. Quincy, man, that dude like is a legit off the bounds 3-point shooter, and he's getting like doubled already at like half court. And yeah, I mean he's not the only one. It's just it's cool to watch them work, and then it's such an intimate environment. Even to a game over there, Vinay, like the environment is so intimate over there because it's so small. So yeah, come out to a game, come say hi.
Yeah,
I'll be there. I'm a real person, so come out and say what's up.
Yeah, if you're in the area, go catch a South Bay game and go harass Raj. Ask him about basketball
please
stuff.
Do.
He's always happy about the company. Raj, I'm in Utah right now, and
oh wow,
as you can see, the background is not my normal background. I'm in my hotel in Utah. It is extremely cold out here. I'm here to chat with the owner of the Utah Jazz and see if we can facilitate a trade for Walker Kessler. No, I'm just here for work. I'm just kidding. I wish I had that kind of ability, but unfortunately, not. But Raj, we've got 5 games in a row that we won, and each one of these games that we've had has had like this different theme to it. Different guys stepping up, different players stepping up, guys being in and out of the rotation. We've seen G League guys get inserted in as recently as the Pelicans win. We've seen AD have phenomenal games. We've seen AD get his eye poked out. We've seen Braun go absolutely ballistic, and then we've seen Braun have really bad games too as well. But I think the most recent thing that we've seen so far is Dalton Knecht going absolutely bananas in Rui Hachimura's absence. So we're definitely going to get to that. But Raj, none of these games have been like end-to-end blowout. I don't have to think about it. I can step away from my TV and for like 10, 15 minutes and come back to it, and we'll still be up by however much we're supposed to be up. We've got 5 wins in a row. Why aren't we really kicking these teams' butts? What is it that's not allowing us to like really get to where we need to be?
I think first off, it's funny that you're in Utah and the Lakers play Utah tomorrow. It's just so random,
bro. When I came out here, like before I'm here until like Thursday, and I literally looked at the schedule. I have that NBA bucket list thing where I try to watch a game in every single arena, and I
Right.
wanted to watch a Jazz game, so I was like, I could check it off because their games are like 7:30 at night or whatever. Anyway, so I'd be done with work, and then I was just like, oh, Utah is coming to LA, and I was just like, what the hell, dude? What kind of? Anyways,
Yeah, anyway,
but yeah,
that looks like a fun arena to like watch a game in though.
yeah,
Very, very tight fan base. I think that's the only sports team there. I think they have a
they're big
college
on
team as well,
their
but
college teams are big here. So BYU
right.
is a big. They're big on their colleges here, and I think they're Utah and Utah State are also big college teams.
Yeah, I think that's their only professional team if I have that correctly. Am I right? I
Yeah, they
think
don't got
so.
a football team, right? They don't
Yeah.
have a official football team, right?
No, they don't have
No,
a baseball team either, I don't think.
no, no.
But yeah, I think mainly just number one is we've been hurt. Two starters, I think, have been out. And I think our defense continued to still be a struggle. I would kind of go both of those as the main reasons. But even 5 in a row is 5 in a row.
There's
Vinay,
5 in a
what I
row.
mean? And
Yeah.
I think you're right though. It hasn't felt that way to me. I just think again these games have been so close. Other than maybe the Philly game where we like really, had a
Hmm.
control. A strange Philly team that came in. Obviously, no Embiid, no Maxi. But after that, I think we did blow out the Raptors at home. But then the close wins against Memphis, San Antonio obviously was down to the wire, and the Pelicans again were down to the wire as well against teams that are injured or hurt, but kind of those are sometimes the most dangerous teams. But I would start there. Our defense, you throw Dalton Knecht into the starting lineup, which we'll get into later. That kind of affects your defense as well. But would you agree with that? I guess just our
Yeah.
defensive overall is kind of why these games are closer than they need to be.
Yeah, yeah. I would say two things, at least in the last two games that definitely I've seen so far, is we get slow starts offensively. Like the teams come out super hot. Some of that I don't think it's because of our defense. I think some of it's because like the Spurs see the Lakers on the schedule. They're like, oh yeah, like they come out with a lot of juice and energy, young, and it's a young team minus Chris
Right.
Paul. Like, and that's the same thing with the Pelicans. I think they come out with a lot of energy too as well. So I think there's a little bit of it where we come down, we start off a little slow. But I think defense has been the theme, dude. Like honestly, like even through these 5 games, and also to be fair, some of these teams are also good. Like the Pelicans have been like okay, like even with all
Mm,
the injuries they've had. Memphis without Ja has been like a 500 basketball club. Like they're a good team. So I think there's a little bit of like Laker fans underestimating how good these teams actually are. The Sixers are really the only team that's like downright awful. Like they're just a bad team all
right.
over the place. But it's been our defense, and some of this is not, in my opinion, Raj. Some of this stuff is not an ability issue. Like they're just
Mm,
not doing the stuff that you need to do to be a good defensive team. And that's, we see AD do it. We've seen Gabe do it. We've seen Max do it. But it's very clear that in the modern NBA, or at least when teams play against the Lakers, every team is fully aware that there's always going to be one guy that's not getting back. And it's a different guy every time. So I'm not pointing out anybody specific, but that seems to really hurt our team because all 5 guys are never locked in at the same time, and teams seem to find that one guy that's not locked in and start really picking on them. Is that a fair way to talk about
yeah.
what's going on with our defense?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I definitely think our transition defense, it's weird because we don't give up that many points off of turnovers. I think I
Mm-hmm.
saw a stat today we're like 8th in like points off turnovers. I think part of it too is we don't turn the ball over that much, I believe, if I look at the numbers. But yeah, definitely in transition, we're an older team in that sense with LeBron as he is, and I talk about the AD issue all the time. I think it's just when AD's not back, when a team see red, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like AD's not back, there's no rim protector. We've been playing a little bit more small as well. Koloko
Mm-hmm.
has entered the rotation here and there. Jackson Hayes is still out. Not sure if he's ever returning with the stuff that's going on with him as well. So that might be
Yeah.
just an issue that we have. But again, when you go small and look, I think Rui's absence has started to kind of get missed here as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
we missed some size with him because without him, we just don't have another forward. Renee against the Pelicans and Spurs, we were running a lot of 4 guard lineups.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff the previous coach was very much hammered on. But
Yeah.
Max Christie at power forward a lot. Cam Reddish, playing like the bigger forward spots. And I think it's
Yeah.
just when you're out without Rui, we just don't have another forward out there. And then also, like, I know you mentioned these are good teams and the aggregate, but like those teams aren't ones that I think the Lakers go into with, it's a Denver, a Boston, a Phoenix, the
Yeah,
Spurs,
absolutely.
again, they have Wembanyama, but a supporting cast that really isn't there yet, other than Chris Paul. Pelicans are maybe the most injured franchise like the last few years. It's just
Yeah.
insane to watch what's happened to them. Shout out Brandon Boston, by the way, just really quickly, another guy that I watch very close in the G League, wondering why the hell is he not playing on the Clippers real team whenever I
Yeah.
watched him play. But he had a great game against us. But again, those are teams like, again, Memphis without Ja. Just, I know you said they're playing well with Jaren, but that just gives a vibe, I think, of a team that you can kind of ease into. And then Toronto and Philly as well go in that mix. But you can only win who's in front of you, Vinay, and
Yeah.
they won all of them so
Yeah.
far.
I wonder, do you think that there's a little bit of our team also not taking some of their opponents seriously? Like on
100%.
that end? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I felt that way against San Antonio. We were down 9 very
Mhm.
quickly, I believe. I think in the Pelicans game we went up double digits and kind of let them back
Yeah.
into it. Also, I mean, some shot making stuff. Brandon Ingram hit a bunch of tough threes, and
Yeah.
like every game kind of went back and forth. But yeah, I think that's the main reason. But definitely, like, some of this was taking opponents lightly for sure. There's a seriousness that's not there. And LeBron seems to have done this thing where he just kicks into gear second half. He kind of chills in
Yeah.
first halves, kind of,
Yeah.
right? Kind of lets the game flow as it is, and then second half kind of picks it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think defense as a whole, I think you definitely hit on that. There's a lack of discipline definitely when it comes to the transition defense. We've certainly been hurt by the fact that we've lost a lot of size. I mean, Pelicans game we played Armelo Traore. We played him like a couple of minutes, 4 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So he got a shift. Not having Jackson hurts. Like we were basically using Jackson like Vando light, like in like a Vando role, and he was actually kicking butt in that role because of the speed and just the amount of energy he was giving us. So he's not having him available, not having Rui available. I saw the 4-guard lineup thing, and I was just like, oh man, like we would have killed him for this, but it's just like obviously everybody's hurt, so I understand why we're not doing it. It is what it is. I think we saw some LeBron at center at one point in the Spurs game too. And I was just like, oh, okay, we're really gonna go. We're gonna do this. But again, I think JJ's done a nice job trying to balance stuff out in regards to it. But that I think you hit on something that I think is worth discussion because it is something that we've said before. It's something that I think you and I, or something that I specifically said very clearly, that the number one issue for Darvin Ham was he didn't know how to read LeBron and what mode he was in. And the Lakers are actually not doing a lot of different things compared to what Darvin Ham did during his tenure. The bench lineups with Braun, the structure of those bench lineups, even when everybody's healthy, very similar to the kind of lineups that Darvin Ham used to run. Be 1, 2, 3 guards, LeBron at the 4, and then a center to be there. We don't have to discuss D'Lo going to the bench. We already know like that's something that Ham did before. Maybe not exactly the same way with the level of communication that JJ did. But this topic of Braun's selectiveness, and I don't want to say selectiveness. I would say I want to change the term that we use. I want to say Braun's pacing, his his like the way he paces himself. That has been much more like discreet. Like it's too easy to tell now when he's doing that. I felt like last year he was really mixing in the facilitation stuff while still being super aggressive in transition. Whereas this time around, it feels like he's not aggressive in transition at all. He's just, when he's in facilitation mode, he's in like facilitation mode. He's gonna do it at his measured pace. And not to say that there's anything wrong with it, but it's so discreet. I wonder if other teams are noticing that too as well. Like, is that something that can continue to go on as the season wanes on?
I mean, what he just had, I think 4 straight triple doubles, right? So like, I think it's clear he feels like on this team he can do that a little bit more. Also, Vinny, I think this is our best start since 2021.
Yeah.
So there's a level of cushion here now where he doesn't have to put the gas on the pedal for every game, right? Like, because Philly's 2-11, and so every game they play now is urgent. Like,
must
it's
win.
just
Win.
Coming back from 2-11 is tough. I know it doesn't sound like it's still early in the season, but we've been 2-10 before. That's a lot of games to make up in terms of the wins that you need, and they have a not aging star, but a star that needs load management. That's what I kind of see from LeBron. He still kind of knows when to turn the gas on, and I think part of this also, Vinay, is this the best his jump shot has been. Like this is just the best his jumper has been in his career. Honestly, I believe. I think he's still shooting. Yeah, he's shooting 43% from three, which would be a career high past the, I think 40 or whatever he shot last year. It's just a level of trust he has in his jump shot where he doesn't need to barrel into five dudes. Again, I agree with you. He's a little bit more selective in transition. It's fun to watch him kind of yell at Dalton. Dalton can have like 25 and he could still give Dalton like the meanest look of like, you missed your, you missed your pass here. Yeah, I think the more wins that we get, the more like seriousness and the more locked, not that they weren't before, just like a belief starts coming over of both of them in terms of if they can be like a title team or not. But I don't know. I'm not again, we said this earlier, we're not really concerned, but like the scoring is definitely down, which like I'm interested in what kind of impact that has. But so far they're winning, and they've taken offense out of the starting lineup, like at least creation level starting lineup. And it's interesting to see like LeBron go full into just point LeBron, and he's doing it in different ways. He's not at the top of the key barreling down. It's a lot of stuff through the post, through the high post, a lot of stuff where he can really save his body and just be more of a facilitator from like without a dribble. It's interesting to watch like his progression there, but I think that's mostly what it is with LeBron. Where are you at with that theory?
Yeah, I don't mind the discreteness of it. I think part of what might be, and the reason why I asked the question was, because I think a lot of people, when they hear us have these conversations about LeBron, and I'm the one asking the question, I think a lot of people think that I have some issue with it, but it's not really that I haven't. Yeah. It's not like that. The only way I can start the conversation is somebody has to ask the question, right? So like on observation, what it is. And so, I think there's two things that are happening. I think he's trying to allow the young guys to kind of start the pace of the game and get into a rhythm first. And that's a good thing. I'm glad that that's a leadership thing. That's a, let me let these young guys, eat first. And then I can build on top of that. And then I think there's another part of this that is something that's been kind of interesting to see. Braun is not getting calls in the paint, like period, like anymore. And that's something that's been like, it's been a trend since he's been a Laker. It's actually been a trend since we won a championship. Like he doesn't get calls. But dude, like now he's like not getting like the obvious ones. Like he's getting fouled. Like he's like in front of a ref. Somebody is hitting him on the arm, like trying to foul him to stop him from scoring. And it's just not. And then he's not getting calls. He's getting slapped in the back of the head. It's not, like these are not like like you and I have seen refs not have an angle at a foul call, so they don't call it. But some of the ones that like Braun hasn't gotten these past two games, it's just like I don't even understand. Like you could make a mistake and blow that whistle too, and have the other team challenge it. And it's just, I think there's a little bit of that's causing him to be a little bit more careful about it.
That feels also like a league wide. I don't know. I've watching the league. That feels like something they've really tried to hammer on, and of not like predicting the foul. There's been a lot of predicting the foul stuff and trying to. They do this every year. When they were like early in the year, they try to really crack down on foul calls, and then by February, March, it's James Harden still gets his 14 a game or whatever it is, like, or Luka goes to the line for 13 or whatever. But early on the season, they do this. LeBron also, like, I think he used to be able to really power through those in a way that maybe that's a little bit less than he used to be able to. There's definitely a frustration there. But again, I think a lot of this, again, his jumper is just so much better now, where there's like a calculated, you just mentioned the pacing that he does, but I'm sure there's a calculated math equation of like, hey, if they go under the screen, I don't really need to turn the corner every single time. I can step back and take a three. And him and AD, honestly, Vinay, becoming 3-point shooters, I think kind of changes how they can attack too. But I think that's just what I see with LeBron so far. Still looks like he can turn it up, whenever he needs to, can, go into that gas tank and pull out whatever is needed when the time comes. But right now, I think they have a nice mix of like, and, credit to you. There's a couple victory laps. I'll let you run on this lap, but like Austin Reeves looks very much comfortable.
I'm already getting people like, oh yeah, we always do. Like when I say something like, see, I told you guys there, I get comments like, oh wow, way to be revolutionary and say Austin Reeves should get more on ball reps. I did the I took my victory lap on Dalton, and somebody
Yeah.
responded to me and was like, "Oh yeah, everybody was asking for Dalton to play more minutes." I was like, "Nah, I don't think
Not
so,"
not
but okay.
not not the amount he played,
Yeah,
in New Orleans,
yeah,
definitely not. But yeah, no, but yeah, I think Austin's also leap as a passer and playmaker, and I mean Austin's doing like flashy passes and like obviously and like he just looks incredibly ready for the role that
comfortable.
they've got him in. Yeah, very
Yeah,
comfortable. Still the guy they give the ball to at the end of the game, still the guy that they trust
yeah,
there, but just throughout as well, his numbers have popped up to like 7, 8 assists a game. And I think all that combined, Vinay, is a LeBron that can like an AD obviously in MVP conversations now, averaging 30 plus a game. Let's LeBron kind of be like, hey, I can get 15, 13, and 11 instead of 28. The team needed me to score 28 a night. I can put in 15, 16 and still be super impactful, in those minutes.
yeah. So I saw a tweet that got circulated, which I thought was funny because I didn't agree with it. So I want to ask
Mm,
you this question. So I'll tell you what this tweet said. I won't tell you who tweeted it, but you probably saw it to yourself. But I disagreed with the observation. The tweet said something like, JJ Redick is using LeBron's IQ this season, and that's
mm.
been the biggest change from what Darvin Ham was doing with LeBron. And I disagree with that significantly. And I think we had a conversation in the group chat about it. Has JJ Redick been leveraging LeBron's IQ, or is LeBron James being LeBron James and picking his spots the way that he normally would?
Yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know. That's a tough. That's kind of like I don't know. Reading the result, like it's a tough thing to like know from the outside. I do think LeBron's kind of again. I think LeBron's jump shooting is a big part of this. I think JJ has put LeBron in positions to succeed in maybe a ways that in play calls and play sets and more structured offense than Darvin Ham did. I could see it that way. I don't know exactly about leveraging LeBron's IQ. I mean, I think a lot of this also is just on LeBron as well. He has his own decision making.
Yeah,
I'm sure if LeBron goes out there and says, like again against Sacramento, right, where we needed it, like we needed points.
yeah,
LeBron's like, forget all this passing stuff. I'm going to go drop 20 and a quarter or whatever it is.
yeah,
So that's mainly what I see. Again, we're so far now from like the Darwin stuff. It's hard for me to go back and pick from there again. But
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of where I see it. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how JJ would leverage LeBron's IQ in ways that any other coach would.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, for me personally, I just disagree with it. I don't think JJ is doing anything different, anything more to leverage LeBron's IQ. I think LeBron is
Mm,
just a spectacular player that he gets to freestyle the way that he wants to freestyle, and JJ doesn't get in the way of that. I think a good example of that is the end of that Pelicans game because Braun wasn't shooting well, but decided he was going to take those 2 threes, which he made.
mhm.
And I think I saw the the playback folks, the playback watch playback account or whatever, they posted like everybody's reaction
Oh,
on
right,
watch
right.
playback to those threes, and everybody was just like, "No,
Oh,
don't
right,
shoot
right.
it,"
No,
and then
no,
he
no,
made
no.
it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and they made it. So it's like that. That was an example of like I think Braun just makes his reads based on what it is that he wants to see. I don't think JJ's done anything to leverage that more. Like I don't see
Yeah.
Braun being. If anything, I see Braun being less of a offensive hub this season. It's more Austin, more AD, more
Mhm.
just move the ball around, get it to different guys, and do different stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. I don't know about leveraging his like I guess IQ, but I do think again, what to your point, AD being more of a hub, and I think LeBron's, I guess using LeBron more as like this Draymond facilitator from
yeah,
the post position and running actions around that is a little different than letting LeBron post up and or
yeah,
be at the top of the key. So it's tough to really know that the offense is what at seventh, I think sixth or seventh right now, and it's humming pretty nicely with LeBron in the role he is.
yeah,
Again, you got to credit the players too. Austin's taken to me a playmaking leap, in a way that I didn't really see, at this level. And then obviously getting healthy with Rui and all that. But yeah, it's cool to see LeBron kind of go to this next place where he's just like a passer on this team where obviously he can still get baskets, and I think he's still averaging like what 20 something in a game.
yeah,
If I have that up correctly. Yeah, he's still at like 23 a game, down from
yeah.
like his career average of like 29. But
if I could date myself and give an example for like Laker fans who might not have lived through that specific era, there was a time where you might know this, Raj. I don't know how like old you were at the time, but when Scottie Pippen played on that Blazers team before they became the Jailblazers, that Blazers team was actually really good, and they had like Damon Stoudemire, Bonzi Wells, Scottie Pippen. I think Rasheed was their 4, and their
Oh,
5
they're
might have
gonna
been
kill you
Sabonis
for this comparison.
the very first year. Oh no, for sure. I know they are. But the thing about the thing that made that team like so deadly was Scotty did almost like he actually stepped way back. Like
Right.
he stepped way out of his normal whatever his esteem and whatever his role was. And he would really pick his spots. Now LeBron is arguably the greatest player of all time. So there's no comparison to LeBron and Scotty, not even on a basketball skill longevity. So obviously I'm not making that comparison. But I remember watching Scotty on that Blazers team really just be the vet, be the
Right.
guy that like I'm going to let Bonzi do his thing and Damon do his thing, and Jermaine O'Neal was coming off the bench for them. I think Ruben Patterson was part of that team too. I forget who else was on that team. They had a bunch of different guys. I think not Derek Anderson. Steve Smith was on that team too as well. Like a lot of like guys who their main skill was scoring or whatever it was, and Scotty stayed out of the way. But in like the most important moments, a lot of the important moments of the game, Scotty would be the guy who would pick up the defensive responsibility on the best offensive player, or he'd be the one who made the play to other people. His stats were like pointless. There's no reason to discuss what Scotty's stats are. But the thing I wanted to kind of talk about was like his role on that team was always like this is the like Scotty was like the level set. Like we use Braun significantly more. We rely on him for offense. We rely on him for facilitation. He's relied on significantly more in his current capacity to what Scotty was during that time at the tail end of his career. But when I think about LeBron and what he's trying to do with this team, I think about that role that Scotty had with that Blazers team quite a lot. And you can almost tell when Braun is facilitating because he needs to see other guys get shots up. Like he needs Dalton to make these shots, or he needs Jackson to get a couple dunks or whatever it is. And I think there's something about that that's almost underrated in today's NBA, because you see a lot of old school players, they don't, or like older players, and like they don't want to do that sort of stuff.
Right.
Like they still want to be the guy that they always were, and fill up the stat sheet and stuff like that. So that's the way I've been like looking at LeBron. Do you remember that, Scott? Do you remember Scotty on that Blazers team? Or
no, so I didn't get to watch that. That was before my time. But yeah, I could see like where Scotty could see the talent, right? And it was like I really don't need to push myself because I see what the talent they have here. I'm always amazed, Vinay, and I don't know if this is part of your conversation as well, but again against this, and I was thinking about this. So LeBron was in Cleveland, Vinay, for I'm not comparing the players. I'm just showing what happens when you have chemistry, or you have because we think of the Lakers as so much turnover, right? But this is Austin and LeBron's 4th year together.
Yeah.
And Austin and AD's obviously 4th year together. I believe he played with Kyrie 4 years, or maybe it was 3 years. I think he played with Kyrie 3 years, and he played with Wade in Miami for 4 years. So like that's a good chunk of time. And again, I think that's where you kind of build trust, and it's fascinating against the Spurs. Again, not saying that's a must-win game, but obviously, anytime you have a game in crunch time, it usually the superstar gets the ball in their hands.
Yeah, you saw with the Pelicans game.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. So we're down 1. I forgot who made the shot. I think it's Devin Vassell hit like a 3. We're down 1, Vinay, and Austin, LeBron on the floor, maybe the greatest of all time. I said arguably, and people still came at me. I was like, man, how do you argue with arguably? Like what? Like just. But anyway, you have Anthony Davis also strutting up the floor. Again, I put arguably, and Jokic fans came at me. It's like, man, it's relax, man. It's like in game 15, but arguably the MVP of the league on the floor, and Austin Reeves bringing the ball up calmly, like that's what he does. Like no shock about it. Runs a pick and roll, and LeBron not even involved in the play. It's Austin, AD. I think he does a little move where he gets Wemby to kind of pop out, sick bounce pass and AD gets a dunk. It's just that's the type of stuff I think that LeBron looks at and goes like, all right, I need that through an 82 game. Dalton, you're hot. Like you got to keep shooting. Here's the
Yeah.
ball. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get you the looks. And so Gabe, you got to keep shooting. Like I think that's part of what it is. But yeah, this team can survive LeBron at 15, 18 points. I think in the regular season, obviously playoff comes around. I think they need his point number to go up. But for right now, it looks like he's gonna work his way through first halves and then second half, if they need it, put the foot on the gas.
Yeah. And we're not sponsored by them, but if you're on Prize Picks, I certainly am. I've been slamming that LeBron assists over every game, and he's like hitting it like in the first half of every game. So it's been nice to see that. So that's free game, I guess. So yeah, it's been interesting to see how he kind of manages himself. I'm waiting to see if that switch happens at some point. Like if at some point he goes back to being a little bit more of a normal LeBron thing where he's not as passive when he wants to be in facilitation mode and he's back to mixing in his transition attacks and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's against better teams. Maybe it's because these teams are not as competitive or as talent matched to Lakers. He's still taking it easy. It's still November. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving yet. So we'll see what happens. But Raj, let's transition here. We've had two guys step up and be successful in the absence of Rui and also in the absence of Cam. We're going to discuss Max and Dalton, but I'll save Dalton for after Max because Max probably doesn't need too much time. But Cam Reddish plays in the Spurs game. Cam Reddish comes out of the game because I think he gets a couple early fouls. Max steps into that defensive role and has a great game against the Spurs. Follows that game up with a starting gig because Rui was out and then Cam was out on the back-to-back against the Pelicans. Doesn't shoot very well. Shoots 1 for 6. The one shot he does make was a huge shot in the fourth quarter that the Lakers desperately needed.
Fade away,
turn around over Brandon Ingram. Max draws the Brandon Ingram assignment, and I thought did a fantastic job of making sure Brandon couldn't get to the rim and had to take all of the one-legged pull-up jumpers. And dude, Brandon Ingram's got like 4 inches, maybe 5 inches on him, so he's going to shoot over him. But there was a stretch in the game where Brandon started off hot. Then the middle quarters, he was bricking everything because Max just kept challenging him. And then Brandon hit a couple more towards the late of the game. You're not going to stop a guy like Brandon Ingram once he gets hot. That's just the nature of what it is. But Max has seen some life in lieu of all the injuries. And he looks like he's got a little bit more confidence back, Raj, defensively and offensively. What have you seen these 2 games from Max?
Before I go, Vinay, because I want you to put your shoes on, and I'm gonna ask you a question within this though, because I try to think about this and I wasn't 100% sure the answer here. Obviously Max played well, and he just went through. He didn't shoot well, right? Yeah. So obviously it wasn't the shooting. So well, not entirely. He did shoot. I think he shot well in San Antonio. Had some big shots, right? Kept us in it. I think we were down. But to you, as a guy who was kind of, still on the island when everybody else, took the one-way flight out.
Yeah. People were very mad at me for saying Max has got to play, dude. You can't bench him for good. You're paying him. You got to play.
Well, I think the most I guess confrontational thing you said was, you got to play him through his mistakes. And people burned you at the stake for that one. But I'm just wondering, like, to you, what's the biggest difference between this road trip, which again only 2 games so far, and like what we saw early on this season, where obviously like he just did not look like he belonged on the floor, and then these last 2 games it looked like the guy that the Lakers invested in this summer. What to you was like the main difference that you saw in that?
Yeah, one is his level of, first of all, his body language, like the comfortability he's played with these past 2 games is like night and day compared to whatever was going on before. Like the games before, he almost looked like almost uncomfortable to be on the floor sometimes, no matter what he was doing, even if he was wide open, whatever it was. So I don't know what the cause to that was, but he's looked super comfortable now. I think part of what has happened is he's now being put in lineups where there is no expectation for him to have to score. Like it's a very simplified expectation. Max, go in. You're going to defend this one guy. We want you to hyper focus on this one dude, defend him the best that you can, run your lanes, and whatever easy opportunities you get. And Raj, these past 2 games, even though he didn't shoot well against the Pelicans game, he finally went back to taking the mid range jumper that we've seen him make. He stopped. He's not trying to force a 2-handed dunk every single time he tries to drive
I
to
don't
the
think he
rim.
had one. Didn't have a
Yeah,
single one.
he's driving and kicking out to other guys. He's getting the ball very quickly out of his hands if he doesn't think that he's comfortable taking the shot. He's getting layups. He's playing defense, saving, deflecting shots, grabbing rebounds. Like, I don't know if something happened on the back end. I don't know if him getting benched and he had like a come to Jesus moment or something like that when he got benched. That's part of it too. But he just looks way, way more comfortable right now. And I think that's a good sign. And I do think that if the Lakers want to try and reintegrate him into the starting lineup, not starting lineup, but into the rotation, they have to keep his role really simple right now and make it so that that's all he has to focus on. Like, don't overcomplicate things for him. He clearly isn't ready for it just yet. Make sure that he's playing next to, 2 scorers. So, like, make sure it's him and Braun and D'Lo together, or him, Austin, and AD together, so that he's not looking to try and have to fix the offense or do anything out of character. And I think you can build from there.
Yeah.
But we should that's where I think he has to start.
Yeah, it's I forgot what Star said. I don't remember if this was Kobe or somebody, but they said they got hurt, and then they, because they were on the bench and they watched the team and they like saw things that they just could not see. Obviously, like when you're watching, you see different things, but just when you're out of the game and you're not playing, you're able to analyze and picture yourself doing things, while it's not heat of the moment. It definitely feels like there's some of that where he's kind of more understood. And again, this is a new coaching staff as well, so I mean, part of it wasn't misunderstanding of like what his role was and where his shots come from. There was definitely some pressure, it felt like, after the new contract, right? Players talk about that. Got my new contract, I got to produce, I got to put points. I can't have 6 points in a game, 8 points in a game. But it's definitely felt like he's settled down, and we talked about it. Like, I don't think there's a good team here without Max finding some type of rotational role. It's been cool to watch him kind of figure that out over the road trip. Again, not great teams that we played, so competition maybe a little bit part of it as well. But you're right about Brandon Ingram. Like, honestly, I think Vanderbilt's probably the best Ingram defender in the league. Obviously,
or AD.
Healthy. Yeah, or AD. Yeah, but then after that, like, you go down the lineup, Cam Reddish is a little too small just to stay with him. Again, Gabe Vincent is not the guy I want guarding the wings. You talked about it very much in the Patrick Beverley school of like Brandon Ingram's just going to shoot right over that guy. But Max did a good job, chased over, was physical. We didn't even talk about this, the fronting on Wembanyama, like the couple steals he had on him, deflecting it, and that's stuff that like only Max really can do in terms of the guys that were healthy, able to front and be athletic and physically impose his will in a way that can kind of help the team out. So it's cool to see Max kind of figure that out, because it was looking dark. I mean, he was in the doghouse, and who knows what happens if these injuries don't come. 82 game season, I always think like injuries are going to come at some point to where players are going to get a chance. But it definitely looks like he found something out. I'm interested to see if like he still starts, if those players are still out. But it's good to get Max, welcome to the 2024 season, Max, because it felt like that was his start.
Yeah. The Spurs game was the closest that he looked to like what normal Max is, from what even if he hadn't scored as much as he did, that was the closest to normal Max that I had seen, just activity wise and what he was doing on offense and defense. So I would say even the Pelicans game, he missed good looks, which I'm never really, when and I think sometimes some fans know this, some fans don't. I think the basketball coaches that follow both you and I would agree that when you have a guy who's very hyper focused on playing defense, that can sap your legs quite a lot. We saw that with Austin in the Denver series with him chasing around. Max has to eat a lot of screens when he has to defend certain guys. Same thing with Cam. Like, you have to eat a lot of screens. Your body gets fatigued. You don't have the legs to shoot the ball. And when the few times you do get the ball, you're not like really in any sort of rhythm to do it. So I don't worry about Max's shooting as much as I get concerned about like his level of activity. Like when he's not shooting the ball, like if he's not defending well or he's not crashing the glass or making good plays, now I'm concerned about Max. And I think that's what we were seeing with Max before. But these past 2 games feels like it's a completely different.
Yeah. So like you talked about his body language. Do you think he was pouting? I couldn't, like, some people were like putting that. I didn't think it was that level, but it definitely felt something like weird in terms of maybe he thought he was getting more playing time that he wasn't getting enough playing time that he thought he would. I don't know. There's some weird.
During his bad stretch of basketball.
Yeah, during his bad stretch. Yeah. It definitely felt like some strange body language there in
Yeah.
terms of where he
Yeah.
was,
So I
thought he
remember
had
I
a
had the
role.
argument. Yeah, I was gonna say I remember you and I discussed this I think on the pod, and I know I definitely had a discussion, a back and forth with people on Twitter about it, where it was part of my whole thing about the development thing. Like, if you're going to
Mm,
actually be a team that's like going to play your young guys, then Max has to play 30 minutes or however many, like at least 25 minutes. And Dalton has to play and Austin has to, like, they have to be the priority minutes wise. And I know a lot of people are going back and forth with me. They're like, well, Max isn't playing well right now, so he shouldn't get the minutes. That's where the thing you were saying, like, people are arguing with me about it. And I was just like, well, Max is losing minutes to Dalton. Like, that shouldn't happen. Like, they're two different types of players. And so, like, maybe you could play Dalton and him together, or that trio combination should be playing like in pairs to some degree.
mm,
Austin, Dalton, and Max. And so I wonder if there was something about that, because there was a point where JJ was giving him like 4 minutes,
mm-hmm.
and if he didn't like explode onto the scene in 4 minutes, he wouldn't get any more playing time. And I was just like, that's not a reasonable way to like. Gabe is playing like 20 minutes. Like,
Right.
it's not a reasonable way to measure a guy who you're supposed to be invested in. But that got a lot of Twitter dialogue. But we'll see, Raj. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Max. I think you and I are both rooting for him to be successful, because we're in the same agreement. This team is not going to be good if he's not impactful in some manner.
Yeah.
It can't be a wasted asset sort of situation. Wasted
Because
investment.
Vando's just not a real person.
No, he's
right
not
now.
a real person, bro. Vando does not exist. He does not exist in my mind. I don't want updates on his health unless he's actually playing. I don't even want to see him in the huddle, like high-fiving his teammates, bro. Like, until you're playing, you don't exist to me. So I don't even consider him. Anyways, Raj, the guy that has exploded onto the scene, the guy that has got all of the, what I like to call, all of the big name NBA Twitter folks who don't actually watch the Laker games but steal all of our tweets and our analysis and then pretend like they actually watch it, are now talking about Dalton Knecht, which means everybody is talking about Dalton Knecht. Explodes onto the scene in that preseason game against Phoenix. You and I are both very high on him. We said multiple times, do not waste time. This guy has to be in the rotation now. He is already a polished player. There's no development needed here. Like, he doesn't need development. He just needs to play so he understands how to read the floor. That's about it. That's all that he needs to do. Then he gets inserted into the Spurs game, gets inserted in to this Pelicans game as a starter, and is a hand in, what you like to say, a hand in glove fit with LeBron and AD and Austin, at least offensively. Dalton looks fantastic on the offensive end. What have you seen with his just kind of emergence in these past two games?
Yeah, it's funny because I always try to get the other team's perspective. So I was listening to Joe Myers and Antonio Daniels do the broadcast for the Pelicans.
Oh yeah, Antonio Daniels is amazing. And yeah, Joe Myers is also awesome.
Yeah, and I kind of quoted him on Twitter, but he was saying like JJ Redick has a decision to make because this dude is way too good. Antonio Daniels, by the way, seen a ton of basketball, right? That dude,
oh yeah,
and very smart analyst. He's like, that fit is just way too clean. And some of the guys are saying it too. Our friend Tony Jones at The Athletic was like,
yeah,
what are you thinking? Like, there's no thought here. Like, this dude is just a legit dude that you got to start. But yeah, Dalton has just absolutely exploded. And I think we talked about this after his Phoenix explosion. There's a level of like dog in him, and just like there's a level of competitive, I don't give a F. Like, I'm just gonna go out and shoot. And he got hot. What I like about him, Vinay, is like he goes to the rim, he attacks the basket. The combination of like a sniper and a guy that can dunk on you, like, there's very few like that. I think Levine is one of them. That's another like archetype.
Yeah,
which is why Levine is so coveted, because just absolutely like aesthetically pleasing player to watch. High flyer that can drain threes. Knecht is not Levine athletically, but will kind of still try to get and dunk on you. And then again, the threes are going to get the noise, and we can talk all day about the shooting, but that dude rebounds. I mean, like, a dude puts a body on people. He goes up with two hands to board. Does not care about the contact. Will take physicality. Was talking trash too. Like, I just like that from a rookie. And then JJ calls every out of timeout play for him, so it's just it's clear there's a connection there. But yeah, that fit is just special. It's very much like the impact. Remember we got Malik Beasley, and it like it's just like
Yep.
he started right away, and I was like, oh man, look at this shooter we can like run actions for. Dalton is like 4 or 5 inches taller than Malik Beasley, and just way more coordinated as a player. But yeah, it's been cool to watch him. And again, I wasn't on the train like you were. You were saying like 30 minutes right away. I wasn't there. I didn't see this. At least I thought at least like 20-25 minutes would be would make sense for him for a rookie. But yeah, sometimes you lose your spot and don't get it back in line. And I'm very
Yep.
curious how that works. But yeah, what are you seeing from Dalton? What stood out from his performance?
Yeah. So obviously, like the relocation shooting, the movement shooting, runs his lanes, will attack
Mm,
in transition with a live dribble if he has it. All that stuff. I think he did that in Tennessee. He's doing that now with the Lakers. The one progression that I was waiting for Dalton to figure out is when guys are closing out too hard on him, and he like
mm,
when will he realize that he can just go and attack the lane and he doesn't have to force that three up. And he figured. It looks like he's starting to figure that out too. Because he did it twice against the Pelicans. He had that dunk off that coming off the curl, could have taken a three or something like that. Doesn't take it, drives straight to the rim for a two-handed dunk. That is good. He's going to poster somebody at some point. Like it's going to happen that somebody's going to try and challenge him, and he's going to get a dunk on him. And it's going to be all over Bleacher Report. Like we're gonna run it up the same way we did for Caruso and whatnot. But his progression, playing from the outside in, is definitely there. I think you hit it on the head. The fact that he's also a plus rebounder at his position is a big, big, big deal. Like Austin has become also a better rebounder at his position too, as well. Like now that he has a ball in his hands, like it's one of those things where it's like you're rewarding them on offense, so now you're getting extra effort from them on the other end. So offensively, I can't say enough about Dalton. He's definitely going to have games where he goes like 0 for 5 or something like that too, I'm sure.
mm-hmm,
But I do like the competitive spirit that you get out of him. The only knock I have on Dalton is he's too good of an athlete to be as bad as he is defensively. And
mm,
you can't be that good of an athlete and not be good defensively. And I think part of the reason why he's not good defensively is because it's actually a funny thing. I think his posture is really good. Like he stands up really straight. So when he plays defense, he also stands up really straight. When like on defense, you got to be able to kind of sit
you got to
down.
be down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to sit down. And so I think that is like defensively, like the next thing he has to be kind of coached up on. That like, hey, if you've got a guy that's like your same size or maybe a little bit quick, like you got to sit down. Like you're athletic enough to challenge a jump shot, but you're standing up and you're just letting guys blow by you at the hip because your posture is too high. So I think it'll be something that comes to him over time. He's only played a couple of games, but Raj, like we're in a pickle, dude. Like this is going to be the next topic I was going to talk about. But we're in a pickle now because Dalton is too good of a fit. And the other thing that I don't think we mentioned is Austin has real chemistry with Dalton. Like he's looking for Dalton
yeah,
when he has a live dribble. And Dalton is like, Dalton cuts like almost instinctively when Austin has the ball. You got the transition cut that happened in the Pelicans game. You had this beautiful dude. I posted the clip. LeBron has it in the corner. Somebody has it in the corner, throws it to Austin underneath the rim, who like does like a 180 spin without even looking to see if the guy's behind
oh
him
yeah,
and goes directly to Dalton for a three, who catches and it goes in Dalton's shooting pocket because somebody's actually closing out to Dalton as that rotation is that ball rotation is happening, and Dalton lets it go, drains a three. Dude, if Dalton's not in that spot, that ball's it's gonna beam somebody in the face, like whoever's sitting courtside in the face. But it's like there's some real chemistry that's been going on that we've seen with Austin and Dalton. And it's funny because it's two white guys. So like I'm sure people will have all kinds of jokes about it, but they seem to play off of each other really well and understand the feel of each other's game. That's pretty great, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to keep him off the floor. Their connection is definitely there, and it kind of makes sense, right? Like again, I think Dalton is such a like. It's like we just got a weapon that didn't exist before on the team, right? Like other guys, you can kind of fill in their roles. No one else kind of does what Dalton does. Like there's no one else you can run off 3 screens for. He's
Yep.
already getting we had a play. I think it was in the Spurs game or the Pelicans game. I don't remember which one it was, but like fourth quarter again, close game, and like we put the ball in Dalton's hands. Honestly, he's not really comfortable yet fully in like running ball screens, but
Yeah.
he ran a little pick and roll with AD, and like both players jumped at him. So he little hook pass over to AD who hit a little mid range jumper. Like he's already getting defended that way, and I could see like teams are starting to fly at him. And again, like his shot, it's again, I don't want to compare him to this player yet, but like it's very Clay like where it's
It
just
is.
very fundamentally sound jump shot, and he's ready. Like he doesn't have to bring the ball back down. You talked about the contested threes he hits, like he's able to hit them with people right in his face. He's a guy that like once he gets hot, Vinay, he doesn't like he doesn't go away from it. Like he's not shy, you know what I mean? Like if he hits 3 or 4 in a row, he'll like test the waters in terms of how hot he is. So I guess we can get to the starting question. It's fascinating because like I think Vinay, you would agree in aggregate that like Rui's a better player, like just in would you agree with that sentence? Like Rui Hachimura is a better just NBA player than Dalton Knecht?
I think Rui is a more well-rounded player than Dalton Knecht
Mm,
is. I think Dalton's a better shooter for sure. He seems to have a very natural scoring ability about him already at the pro level. I wouldn't say it's like for sure it's better than Rui. I think there's like the post-up stuff, the bully ball stuff. Like Rui does that well. We haven't seen Dalton handle like a very physical defender just yet, so we don't know how that works.
yeah.
I think Rui is more well-rounded than he is
Yeah.
in aggregate for sure.
So it was funny because I brought this up, and someone's like, "Well, Rui's shooting 50% from three." I was like, "Well,
Mm.
I mean that I guess that's true, but they definitely don't create the same amount of threes. They don't teams don't guard it the same. Again, I'm gonna credit Antonio Daniels because the Lakers ran this play, Vinay, and he was just gushing how like it's unguardable. So we had it's the lineup that you want. It was Austin, Dalton, Max with LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna diagram this play. So they're in their horn set, which means 2 players at the elbows,
Mhm.
and so what they ran was like a LeBron AD pick and roll, right? With Dalton on the strong side.
Yeah.
And then Austin was like coming off in like a screen from Max on the other side. And Antonio Daniels is like, how the hell do you guard that? Like, and so LeBron got a layup and they went to it again. I think someone got a 3, but yeah, it's just that's
Yeah.
a very tough, and not that D'Lo can't shoot or whatever, but like it's just different type of like D'Lo's not a movement shooter, like Dalton is. And then Austin, you get the playmaking. It's just yeah, I think they do have a choice. How much? I'll push this to you. How much do you lose, if any, defensively from Dalton to Rui at the 3 spot?
So I am of the mind. Um, okay, I'll stick with your substitution. I think you do lose a level of toughness
Mm.
that you don't get with Rui. I think the rebounding
Oh wow.
volume, the fact that Dalton helps crash the glass is great. I think that's super great. Um, but I think the trade off, if you sub Dalton for Rui, the actual issue is who's LeBron guarding, because I
Mm.
think that becomes a little bit of an issue for the Lakers because that Pelicans game, Ron was guarding his name is Jeremiah Robinson Earl,
Okay.
and Robinson Earl, like Earl was just sitting, Jerry was just sitting in the corner like the entire game, doing absolutely nothing except taking wide open threes. And I'm not saying it's all Braun's fault, but like one of the things I think you and I both discussed on the pod is those low man responsibilities for LeBron can't be there anymore because Braun is not doing those like the tag and run back to the corner when the ball gets swung there. Braun's not doing that anymore. He's 40 or 39, whatever he is, and he's just like, I'm just not doing that. And so what was working for the Lakers is they would have Rui do that, and then they'd have LeBron squeeze the floor from the perimeter. So if he was playing off of his guy, it would be from a manageable distance for him to recover to. And I think that hurt us a little bit in that Pelicans game. So my concern, so I think the trade-off isn't, I think you get a higher offensive ceiling because you can run stuff with Dalton that you can't run with Rui.
Right.
You have a lot of chaos that you can create on the offensive end for an opposing defense. But the problem is I think if Dalton A isn't playing better defensively, which is the first thing he has to do, he has to be better defensively if he wants more minutes. If he's not doing well there, we also compound the issue by asking LeBron have to do
to do
those low
more.
man responsibilities. Yeah, and so that becomes a compounding issue. So I have a suggestion for the starting lineup. I want you to get your thought out if you have any thoughts about that swap
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we should.
yeah. I think that makes sense. I also like I can counter and be like the guy Rui guards. I kind of want LeBron guarding anyway, rather because like when
Mhm.
Rui's foot speed is always still an issue to me, and I think like who guards wings is still like whoever's guarding any of the other team's best perimeter guy is not Rui. It's whoever's at the two, right,
Yeah,
in this situation. So that's why I think, and I don't think they lose too much in height as well. And I think again, you give Rui, you give your bench a hell of a punch if with like Rui Hachimura coming off of it as well. I just think the fit is so clean with Dalton that like it can surpass the talent fit, right? And I
yeah,
like I'm not sure I'm 100% there yet to start Dalton. I want to see it a little bit more. I want to see it be a little bit more consistent, but I think that can be the eventual goal. But yeah, what's your what are you proposing for
yeah,
this?
yeah. So in my mind, I don't think Dalton sub should be Rui. I think the
Mm,
sub Dalton sub should be for Cam. Like I think Cam
mm,
should come out and Dalton should start instead of Cam. And I think you have to, if the Lakers are, I think JJ or whoever it is on the coaching staff has to go and tell Dalton, you're too good of an athlete. This is exactly what I said. You're too good of an athlete for you to be put on an island against like Stephon Castle. And Stephon Castle is a phenomenal player. So I don't want to discount him. Or like Chris Paul. Like there's zero reason for any of those guys to be able to like easily score over you. And I would almost challenge them that like, hey, same way the Lakers probably have done with Austin. Like, if you want more minutes, you want more reps, you've got to defend your position to some degree. And I think if you do, um, if you do that, I think that's what JJ is going to try to do. If I had to take a guess, he's going to keep
mm.
Rui. He's going to insert Rui back in the starting lineup. You and I have different machinations. I know what you're getting at about moving Rui to the bench because I've said the same thing. I don't think the Lakers are there yet to
I
do
don't
it.
think so either.
I think JJ's waiting to see if Vando can get healthy or whatever it is before he can actually do that.
Oof.
But in an ideal world, if Vando actually did exist and was a real person, Vando is probably the perfect four for that Lakers lineup because he does all of the stuff that we would want for what it is. But I think the Lakers should at least give that lineup a shot. They should give an
Mm,
Austin, Dalton, Braun, Rui, AD lineup a shot. And part of the reason for that is it gives Austin another person that will run down the floor with him that will that can score the basketball. And the foot speed is always going to be an issue for the Lakers because and I think that's part of the reason why we want to move Rui out of that starting lineup. Um, it's always going to be an issue because LeBron and AD are slow guys. Like they're not like if they
sure.
want to be, they can be, but for the most part, they want to play at a slower and more measured pace. At least this early in the season. The other option, Raj, if you are gung ho about moving Rui to the 6-man sort of role or that bench scoring, because we need it. Like that bench unit doesn't have size, and we're playing smaller and smaller as we keep losing guys. So I'm with you there. I would like to see either Cam or, in my opinion, Max. I like to see
Mm,
Max and Dalton play together in that starting line. So it would be like Austin, Max, Dalton, Braun, AD. And then maybe you ask Braun to do some of that low man stuff. You got to take the good with the bad. Can I ask you one thing? Was it
mm.
noticeable how much faster our that trio, how much more athletic that trio felt when it was on the floor in that Pelicans game?
Most definitely, definitely felt like a lot more athletic, definitely more faster. I think Max has a lot to do with that, right? I think his athleticism really jumps out, with those three together, and they just have like some synergy of enthusiasm, and there's just a level of understanding where everyone's going to be. Max Christie being the worst shooter on the floor is an interesting kind of look there as well, right? You have
Yeah.
Austin, Dalton, Max, obviously LeBron and AD play power positions. Yeah, so I just want to go to your lineup real quick. That would concern me for one thing is again, I just think that's so slow. Like I know Dalton's an athlete, but Austin, Dalton, and Rui to me, like it's a lineup that can be punished on the perimeter,
Fair.
in my opinion. And again, I think expecting Dalton to be this offensive player and also like a two-way guy this early, I don't see it yet. And I'm sure he'll get better. Like again against the Pelicans in the second half, and we hold them to like 40 points, I believe, in the second half.
Yeah.
Dalton played a lot of those minutes. He played, I believe, almost the entire second half, other than a quick break in the fourth quarter. So he was a part of a consistent defense in that game, which why I think you have to have one of Max or Cam in there. And again, I think that fit is just too clean. Like if Max is the guy we think he is, and if Dalton's who we hope he is, that's a pretty clean fit to me. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying bench Rui right now, and I have no idea how Rui would take it. Did not take the benching well when Ham did it, right? Ham benched Rui to start the season for Torian Prince. Did not take that well, which was very public about that. So I worry about that. Again, taking 2 starters out 3 weeks in is very interesting for a team that's winning at the pace that they are. So I'm sure Rui will get his chance with the starters. But yeah, like if Dalton's this, it changes a lot of things because the fit is just too good. And he's not some 6'4" shooter, right? Like Quincy Oliveri can shoot, but like he's 6'3", 6'4", changes that dynamic of your team. Dalton's 6'6", 6'7". It makes it so tough to keep him off the floor. So I would at least have one. Again, I think Austin's benefiting from not Vinay having to guard the other team's best perimeter guy either.
100%.
So his offense looks much more clean, and he looks like he has his legs at the end of games in ways he just didn't, in previous seasons. And I just like having a in baseball, they have a designated hitter, just a designated defender. Just like, hey, go guard Brandon Ingram, go guard, Trae Young, go guard the guards. And so Austin kind of play off. But Dalton makes it a very, very interesting, decision that JG will have to make.
Yeah. So we didn't get to this part, but I wanted to discuss this because this is one of my this is not analytics. This isn't film. This is just pure basketball talk. I want to discuss this topic. I definitely want to bring this up because I know the people who are basketball junkies. And I know we're at the hour mark, but I definitely want to cover this. The basketball junkies will understand the language the way we're discussing this. You and I had a conversation in the group chat with the other guys about why Dalton is a better fit with that starting group than Rui is, and why it makes more sense for Rui to do that. And it was purely a basketball discussion, didn't have anything to do with analytics. Because if you looked at analytics and you said, well, Dalton's a really great three-point shooter, somebody could point at the analytics and be like, well, Rui's shooting 50% from three, so what's the trade-off here? Like, they're both great. But there's a basketball part of this that is unseen unless you breathe the game. I don't know how else to describe what it is. And you tell me if you agree with this or not. This was my explanation for what was happening. Why I think it's a better fit. Dalton is what I call a dead rhythm player. He gets all of his rhythm from just participating in the basketball game, grabbing rebounds, playing defense, running around screens, touching the ball, swinging the ball, all that sort of stuff. Everything that doesn't involve shooting, he can still find a way to gather himself and get rhythm for himself. There are basketball players who are like that. You see guys like Cam Thomas, Jamal Crawford, these guys that are all natural scorers. Roger, it's a very funny conversation. I think 2 years ago, there was this big debate on what's a hooper and what's a basketball player.
Right.
And Dalton Knecht is a hooper, okay? He doesn't need much to get him going and engaged in the game. And if you remember that analogy, which was a terrible analogy because hoopers can be basketball players and vice versa.
Yes.
Rui is not that type of guy. He is not a dead rhythm player.
He's a basketball player.
Yeah, he doesn't get his energy from rebounding and playing defense, and he doesn't build a rhythm from that. He builds a rhythm from touching the ball, dribbling it, posting up guys, taking jump shots, getting a feel for the game. And in that starting lineup, the reason why Rui has always felt like the odd man out to some degree on the offensive end sometimes is because he's being asked to be this dead rhythm guy. Play defense, rebound, go stand in the corner. Play defense, rebound, go stand in the corner. And it's hard for him to succeed in that manner. And I think Dalton, because he can do it, like the guy that you said, Klay Thompson. You can see Klay go for long stretches without touching the ball, and then he hits 5 threes in a row. And you're like, dude, what the hell? We weren't prepared for this at all. During the Warriors' heyday, even probably now with Dallas. Does that make sense to you? 100%. Do you understand that? Give me more about that.
Yeah. So the great part about this is the best hoopers can also be basketball players when it's needed, right? So they can fit in And I think the way I best describe this, and I try to get this point across in the group chat, it was a little difficult, but Rui is like an island, right? And he's just an island. And that island has electricity, it has water, it has all this stuff. Not as much as the LeBron and AD islands have,
For
right?
sure.
It's not as fancy. The resorts aren't 5 stars, but still a really nice island. Like, can get you, it's a nice stay over there. But you can't travel to other islands on that island. Like, once you get to the Rui Island, you're on the Rui Island. Like, that's what you are, right? Dalton is a fucking bridge that, like, you can walk anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So, like, this is why he's involved in all these actions. He's back screening for AD. He's ghost screening and inverting screening for LeBron. Him and Austin are running actions together. He's coming off pin down, like every sideline out of bounds play, which Vinay is the most team like structured thing you can create. Like sideline out of bounds is like where you practice the most usually.
Yeah.
Dalton is who that play is ran for. And the reason why is because he's a freaking bridge. How you defend Dalton is how we run that play. If you double Dalton, the ball goes here. If you don't defend Dalton, he pops out for a 3. So that's kind of how I see it. And again, Rui's shooting great. He's averaging 12 points a game, 6 boards. I think Rui is doing what Rui's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Dalton puts that starting lineup in a totally different stratosphere. I remember we used to say, like, when D'Lo plays well, this team doesn't lose. Right? It's kind of like, and I'm saying Dalton is D'Lo. What I'm saying is, like, when you get a threat at that position, or like, again, I'm put it to a guy that got a lot of hate, but like when Danny Green would play well, Vinay, we just don't lose. It's because, like, when you put a knockdown shooter, I think like when Danny Green hit like 3 threes, we were some win-loss record.
Ridiculous record, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I watched Dalton. He's just a bridge. Like, he's a connector, and I see Gray Raj bringing up Vando within that. It's a similar kind of point where Vando is a connector in that same way, where he doesn't need like a possession called for him to like impact the possession. He doesn't need to touch the ball for the impact to it. If Rui, like, he's the finisher, right? Like, the ball swings to him, he hits a 3, he made an impact on the play. If you run a post play for him, run a play. But Rui can't screen for LeBron.
Yeah. They just switch it. Yeah, you can't really do much with it.
Rui can't screen for AD. Can't back screen and switch that action every time.
Yeah.
Doesn't even screen for Austin. When does Rui screen for Austin? That's just, those plays just do not happen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's why. Again, this is not saying Rui should be benched now. I think there's a time for that. But if Dalton is who he's been for the last few days, it changes things.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, we've talked about it behind the scenes. We don't know if it'll actually happen. How Rui would take it, but I think if you bring Rui and let him really be the 6th man, like he'd actually be the Lakers 6th man for that bench group, that would be huge, because that bench group badly needs like a sit. Like, it's crazy to say that a bench group of defensive guys led by D'Lo and LeBron would need offensive scoring. But if you watch them, they do need it, because when Bron isn't attacking the rim because he's not getting calls or whatever it is, then you're expecting D'Lo to be the guy to do it. And we already know that D'Lo's greatest, like, he's doing it and admirably. But his strength is not putting pressure on the rim and taking layups at the rim. If there's an advantage for him to do that, he'll certainly do that. But that's a lineup. Those lineups, you can easily carve 28 minutes for Rui, where he's just getting nothing but touches, and you're just feeding him over and over and over again in the post, off of screens, whatever it must be. He can run the 1-4, what's it called? The 1-4 pick and roll with D'Lo, and you can flank him with the Jackson Hayeses and the Gabe Vincents and the other defensive guys that are on the floor. I think it increases the size of that bench group, which helps. And I think it would also allow Rui an opportunity to get back to just kind of what he normally is, because there was a stretch of basketball, Raj. He started off really well, 4 games of the season. And then after that, like, his everything tanked. Like, if you just look at the volume of shots he was taking, it was almost cut in half. And I think with a guy like Rui, you lose a lot of the other stuff you want out of him when he's not engaged on the offense. And that's the difference between a basketball player and a hooper. That's one of those underlying things that's hard to see. So I don't know what will be the end result. I think that's JJ's got a tough decision to make. He might just allow seniority and familiarity to reign supreme, at least for now, and go back to what was normally happening. But if he wants to be creative, Raj, like, this is an opportunity to do it, and it doesn't have to be like an insult. Like, Rui is paid. It's not about, like, D'Lo got sent to the bench. No, nobody said, like, some people have said it, but like, since D'Lo has gone to the bench, the Lakers are on a 5-game win streak. Does that mean that D'Lo was a problem? No. It just means that what he's good at help support the Lakers in areas where we were weak at. And that's what it takes to get buy-in. And if JJ can get these guys to buy into those roles, and then they execute in those roles, and we see success in the win column, and in their stats or whatever it may be for them, then that's a great thing. So we'll see, Raj. Like there's also another crazy lineup that I brought up in the chat that we didn't discuss. But we'll discuss it maybe if he gets healthy. It's not Vando, but in case he gets healthy, we'll see how it works. But Raj, any other thoughts you have about?
I was just saying it's funny that New Orleans could have taken this pick. Like this is like this that we could have not had a first round pick, this year. And that could have been theirs. They obviously deferred it till next season.
Yeah.
They bet on the Lakers being bad, which again wasn't a terrible bet, I guess. There's a lot of questions coming into the season, but Lakers so far 9-4. Renee, the Houston Rockets lost in Milwaukee tonight, so the Lakers are the 3 seed. I don't know what the Warriors Clippers score is, but they play tonight, so we'll see how that game goes. But again, this is what winning affords you. Like it affords you experimentation, right?
Yeah.
And so if not in an extreme sense, but when you're fighting for your play-in lives, you don't have experimentation time. You know what I mean? You gotta just win every game and die with every game. You got to play LeBron 40 minutes a night. You got to play AD, 40 minutes. When you have a cushion in the standings, you can kind of play with things. And D'Lo went to the bench. Vinay, I don't see him returning to the starters. I know JJ said it's a temporary thing, and or it was a temporary thing for that time. It's been 5 games now, and it looks like he's very comfortable, coming off the bench. I'd be interested to see if he does it with Rui. But Dalton's his minutes have continued to accelerate as the season has gone on. I told you he was doing this weird thing where he's only playing second and fourth quarters. That's gone. So he's starting to get in early. Obviously, he started the last one. These are good problems to have. So we'll see where it goes. But
yeah. Well, Roger, our next 8 games, our next 5 to 8 games are against equally not so great teams that we have on the schedule. We play Utah, I think, twice. I think the only 2 really tough teams that we play record-wise, or just expectation-wise, is we play OKC once and we play Minnesota once. Now, this Lakers team is fully capable of dropping a game that it should not drop. None of these games that we've won so far, even though they have been wins, have been like we said, like end-to-end blowouts. Every team has made it sticky to some degree. So you don't know what sort of team might show up. But the hope is that as we get healthier, things get a little bit easier too for us. So this is, again, a great opportunity for the Lakers to build and add to the win column, stack wins now, so we don't have to kill ourselves over important games in March and April. So I'm glad the Lakers are doing that. JJ is continuing to do some of the same stuff that the previous regime did, and then do some stuff that the previous regime didn't even think about doing. So I think it's cool to watch him learn on the job. I really do hope I tagged you in the tweet, but like it would be funny if JJ was reading like suggestions from Lakers Twitter. Like maybe that does kind of make sense, or maybe that doesn't. Obviously he's a coach. I don't think he is, but it would be funny if he is trying to find balance and stuff like that with those lineups. It's good to see that he's kind of seeing it the same way that we're seeing it, because now there's no like confusion about like what he's seeing and what we're seeing. So it's cool to see. But Raj, Lakers can stack some more wins. We can get some more wins before Thanksgiving, more wins before Christmas. It'd be very nice for us to do that. We got the in-season tournament win. We got another one tomorrow. We might have a chance at being defending champs back there. If it is, I think your boy Vinay might be going back to Vegas to go watch him.
Vegas.
If that's the case. Yeah, on a Tuesday night, because apparently that's when the championship game is at. So
is it on a
we'll
Tuesday this year?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, wow. The conference final games are on a Saturday, on a Saturday, and I think the final game.
If they make the conference finals, I'll head out there. I'll
all right, we'll figure it out. All right, yeah, don't let us down, Lakers. Any reason to go to Vegas? But as always, folks, we appreciate everybody that joined, whether you joined in midway through or you've been here from the start. You can rewind it back on the Lakers Detailed X account. Or you can wait for me to upload this on Spotify and Apple, and it'll hit your feed, and you can watch the video and listen to our lively discussion about what the Lakers should be doing with their starting lineup and whatnot. But as always, we appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, whatever it is you do. And we hope that you have a great one. And if nothing else, we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.